No maid lasted a day with the millionaire's 5 daughters, until a single dad janitor changed everything. Just before we begin, your presence means a lot. Say hi, and share where you're tuning in from, only if you want to. The crystal vase shattered against the marble floor of the entrance hall, and Catherine Ashford didn't even flinch. It was the third one this week. She stood at the top of the grand staircase in her immaculate Armani suit, her phone pressed to her ear, watching her 5 daughters wreak havoc below, while nanny number 17 gathered her belongings with trembling hands. I don't care what the board thinks, Gerald. Tell them the merger happens on my terms or not at all. Catherine snapped into the phone, her ice blue eyes tracking the chaos with practiced detachment. Her daughters, Sophia, 8, the twins Emma and Olivia, 7, Charlotte, 5, and little Lily, just 4 years old, were currently using the foyer as their personal battlefield. Lily, the youngest with her wild auburn curls, was finger painting on the white walls with what Catherine desperately hoped was just chocolate pudding. Mrs. Ashford, I cannot work under these conditions, the nanny stammered, her designer bag already on her shoulder. Those children they're monsters? Catherine supplied coldly, ending her call. Yes, I'm aware. That's why I'm paying you $4,000 a week. Was paying you. No amount of money is worth this. The woman's voice rose to a near shriek as Charlotte zoomed past on a motorized toy car, nearly clipping her ankles. Your daughters need more than a nanny, Mrs. Ashford. Thank you for your input. Catherine cut her off, already descending the stairs. Claire will have your final check ready by morning. As the front door slammed behind Nanny 17, Catherine surveyed her empire of chaos. Her ex-husband Richard had left her with 5 daughters and a massive settlement 2 years ago, running off with his 23-year-old assistant. Catherine had won the divorce, won sole custody, won everything, except the ability to manage her own children. She'd built a tech company from nothing and turned it into a billion-dollar enterprise, but these 5 little humans defeated her daily. Sophia, get your sister down from that chandelier right now, she commanded, not bothering to raise her voice. Experience had taught her that volume made no difference. 8-year-old Sophia, the ringleader with her mother's sharp features and her father's dark hair, looked down from where she was helping Emma scale the antique furniture. Why should we? You're just going to hire another babysitter who hates us anyway. The words struck deeper than Catherine cared to admit. She checked her watch. 2:47 p.m. She had a video conference with Tokyo investors in 13 minutes, and her house looked like a war zone. Again, everyone to your rooms. Now. She used her boardroom voice, the one that made senior executives quake. Her daughters stared at her with identical expressions of defiance. I said now! They scattered like startled birds, but Catherine knew it was temporary. Within an hour they'd be back, pushing boundaries, testing limits, searching for something she couldn't give them. She didn't have time for tantrums and tea parties. She had a company to run, investors to impress, a reputation to maintain. Her phone buzzed. Claire, her executive assistant. Catherine, the emergency cleaning service is here. You said the house needed to be presentable for tomorrow's gathering? That's right. She'd scheduled a dinner party for potential investors. Her home had to look perfect. Send them in. And Claire, start calling agencies. I need Nanny 18 by Monday. Ma'am, we've exhausted every premium agency in the state. They've started declining our requests. Catherine's jaw tightened. Then find someone from out of state. I don't care if they have to relocate from Alaska. Just find someone who can handle 5 children. She ended the call and headed to her home office, stepping over broken toys and scattered crayons. Behind her, she heard the front door open again. The cleaning crew, probably horrified by what they'd walked into. Let them be horrified. Everyone was horrified by the Ashford household. She'd gotten used to the judgment, the whispered criticisms at school functions, the pitying looks from other mothers who had perfectly behaved children and loving husbands. Catherine Ashford had everything money could buy and nothing that mattered. But she'd be damned if she'd admit it to anyone, least of all herself. She shut the office door and pulled up her presentation, forcing her mind back to profit margins and market projections. Numbers made sense. Numbers had rules. Numbers never looked at you with disappointed eyes and asked why you didn't love them enough. From somewhere upstairs, she heard a crash followed by giggles. She didn't even look up from her computer screen. Whatever it was, she'd deal with it later. She always dealt with it later. At precisely 3 p.m., her video call began, and Catherine Ashford transformed. Her voice became warm, her smile confident, her entire demeanor that of a woman completely in control. The Tokyo investors never suspected that behind her professionally styled blonde hair and flawless makeup, a domestic disaster was unfolding in real time. That's how Catherine operated. Perfect on the surface, chaos underneath, and a wall so high between the two that no one could see where one ended and the other began. The call lasted 40 minutes. When it ended, the house had gone suspiciously quiet. Catherine knew that silence in a house with 5 children was never a good sign. She rose from her desk, steeling herself for whatever destruction awaited, and opened her office door. Standing in her foyer, surrounded by her daughters, was a man she'd never seen before. He was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair graying at the temples and warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners. He wore a simple navy work uniform with Rivera Cleaning Services embroidered on the chest. But what made Catherine stop in her tracks wasn't the man himself. It was her daughters, all 5 of them, sitting quietly on the floor, listening to a story he was telling while he cleaned. And then, the man was saying in a gentle voice with a slight Hispanic accent, the little dragon realized that breathing fire wasn't about being angry. It was about protecting the things you love. Lily, her impossible, untamable 4-year-old Lily, was leaning against his leg, completely transfixed. The twins were sitting cross-legged, actually sitting still. Even Sophia had abandoned her usual scowl of defiance. The man looked up and saw Catherine. He straightened immediately, a professional smile replacing his storytelling warmth. "Mrs. Ashford, I presume?" "Marcus Rivera. I'm here to handle the emergency cleaning you requested. I hope you don't mind. Your daughters wanted to hear a story while I worked." Catherine found her voice, though it came out sharper than intended. "And you thought it appropriate to stop working and entertain them?" Something flickered in Marcus Rivera's eyes. Not anger, but something sadder. Understanding, maybe. "I didn't stop working, ma'am. I'm cleaning while I talk. Multiple tasks, same time." He gestured to the now spotless foyer floor where the vase had shattered. "Your daughters aren't a distraction. They're just lonely." The word hung in the air like an accusation. Catherine felt her defenses slam into place. "Mr. Rivera, I hired a cleaning service, not a child psychologist. If you could focus on the job you were paid for." "Daddy does both," a small voice piped up. Catherine's eyes snapped to the corner where a little girl had been sitting so quietly she hadn't noticed her. She was about 6 years old, with her father's dark eyes and a smile that lit up her whole face. "Daddy cleans and tells the best stories. That's why everyone likes him." "Maya," Marcus said gently, "remember what we talked about? Indoor voices in other people's homes." The little girl nodded solemnly and returned to the coloring book spread before her. But she looked up at Catherine's daughters with such open friendliness that something twisted in Catherine's chest. When was the last time her girls had looked at anyone like that? Like they trusted them? Like they felt safe? "Mr. Rivera," Catherine began again, her voice softer now. "I apologize, it's been a difficult day. Please continue with your work." And the story was fine. Marcus nodded, his eyes meeting hers for just a moment. In that brief connection, Catherine saw something that unsettled her. He wasn't intimidated by her wealth or her ice queen reputation. He looked at her like she was just another tired parent trying her best, and failing miserably. And somehow that was worse than contempt. Pity she could dismiss. Understanding was dangerous. As she turned to retreat to her office, she heard Sophia's voice, small and uncertain. "Will you finish the story about the dragon?" "Of course," Marcus replied. "The dragon still has a lot to learn about being brave." Catherine closed her door and leaned against it, her heart pounding for reasons she couldn't name. Through the wood, she could hear her daughters laughing. Actually laughing. When was the last time she'd heard that sound in this house? When was the last time she'd been the one to cause it? She returned to her desk, but the numbers on her screen blurred. Outside her door, a stranger with kind eyes and worn hands was doing what 17 highly qualified nannies couldn't do. And for the first time in 2 years, Catherine Ashford wondered if maybe, just maybe, she'd been fighting the wrong battles all along. Catherine tried to focus on her emails, but she kept finding excuses to leave her office. She needed water, then she needed to check the thermostat. Then she absolutely had to review the mail that could have waited until tomorrow. Each time she passed through the main areas of her home, she witnessed something that should have been impossible. Marcus Rivera was transforming her house. But more impossibly, he was transforming her daughters. By 5 p.m., the man had somehow cleaned the entire first floor, while simultaneously keeping all 5 girls entertained and, miraculously, well-behaved. Catherine watched from the kitchen doorway as he showed Charlotte the proper way to fold a cloth napkin, his daughter Maya demonstrating alongside him. The 5-year-old was completely absorbed, her tongue poking out in concentration as she tried to match the neat triangles Marcus created. My mama taught me this, Marcus was saying, his hands moving with practiced ease. She said that taking care of things, even small things like napkins, shows respect. Not for the things, but for the people who'll use them. Did your mama teach you lots of stuff? Emma asked one of the twins. She'd never seen her daughter so genuinely curious about another person. She did. My mama was a housekeeper for 40 years. Best in Albuquerque, people said. His voice carried a warmth that spoke of deep love. She passed away 3 years ago, but I use her lessons every day. Our mama's always busy. Olivia, the other twin, said matter-of-factly. She has important meetings. Marcus didn't miss a beat. Your mama must be very smart and strong to run a big company. That takes a special kind of courage. Catherine felt heat rise to her cheeks. When was the last time someone had defended her to her own children? When was the last time someone had seen her work as anything other than neglect? But she doesn't play with us, Sophia interjected, her 8-year-old wisdom carrying an edge of bitterness. She's always in her office. Sophia, Catherine started, stepping into the room, but Marcus raised a gentle hand. Can I tell you something my Maya's mama used to say? He glanced at his daughter, who nodded encouragement. She used to say that love isn't just one thing. Some people show love by playing. Some people show love by working hard to give you a good home, good food, good schools. Both kinds of love are real, even if they feel different. But we want her to play with us, Lily said, her 4-year-old voice quivering. We want her to love us the playing way. The words hit Catherine like a physical blow. She gripped the doorframe, suddenly unable to breathe properly. Marcus met her eyes across the room, and she saw no judgment there, only a profound sadness that made her feel seen in a way she'd spent years avoiding. Sometimes, Marcus said softly, addressing Lily but clearly speaking to Catherine too, grown-ups forget how to play. They get scared and sad, and work feels safer than feelings. But that doesn't mean they don't love you. Sometimes it means they love you so much it hurts and they don't know what to do with that hurt. Did Maya's mama forget how to play? Charlotte asked innocently. Marcus's face clouded briefly. Maya's mama got very sick. She didn't forget to play. She just ran out of time to do it. That's why I try to play with Maya every single day now. Because I learned that time is the most important thing we can give the people we love. Catherine turned and walked quickly back to her office before anyone could see the tears threatening to spill. She closed the door and pressed her palms against her desk, taking deep breaths. Who was this man? This cleaning man who saw through her so easily, who spoke about love and loss with such devastating clarity. She pulled out her phone and did something she never did during work hours. She searched for information about Rivera Cleaning Services. The website was simple, professional. One-man operation, it seemed, specializing in residential and small commercial spaces. References from satisfied clients praising his thoroughness and reliability. Then she found a news article from 3 years ago. Local woman loses battle with cancer, leaves behind husband and young daughter. There was a photo. Marcus Rivera, younger and devastated, holding a tiny 3-year-old girl at a funeral. The article mentioned that his wife, Elena, had been a nurse at Presbyterian Hospital. She'd died at 31. Catherine closed the browser, feeling like she'd invaded something private, but the pieces were falling into place. Marcus Rivera was a widower, raising his daughter alone while building a business. He understood loss. He understood what it meant to keep going when everything fell apart. He understood her daughters because he'd lived through something that taught him how fragile everything really was. A knock on her door pulled her from her thoughts. Mrs. Ashford? Marcus's voice came through. I've finished for today. I've left my invoice with your assistant's contact information. If you'd like me to return tomorrow to complete the upstairs, just let me know. Catherine opened the door, schooling her features back into professional neutrality. Yes, please return tomorrow, same time. She paused, the words sticking in her throat before she forced them out. Thank you for the cleaning and for being kind to my daughters. Marcus studied her face for a moment, and she had the unsettling feeling he could read every defense mechanism, every wall she'd built. They're good kids, Mrs. Ashford. They're just testing boundaries because they don't know where the boundaries are. Kids need structure, but they also need to know the structure comes from love, not just rules. I provide everything they need, Catherine said, but it sounded hollow even to her own ears. I'm sure you do, Marcus replied gently. But sometimes what kids need most is to know they're more important than everything else, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day. He called for Maya, and the little girl came running, her backpack bouncing. Catherine's daughters appeared behind her, and she noticed something that made her chest tighten. They all looked disappointed that Marcus was leaving. Sophia, her defiant, angry Sophia, actually looked like she might cry. Will you come back? Lily asked. tugging on Marcus's work pants. "If your mama wants me to, I'll be back tomorrow," he assured her, crouching down to her level. "And maybe, if it's okay with your mama, you can show me that drawing you were working on? I bet it's beautiful by now." Lily beamed and nodded enthusiastically. Marcus stood, gave Catherine a respectful nod, and headed for the door with Maya's hand in his. As the door closed behind them, Catherine's 5 daughters turned to look at her. For the first time in months, they weren't looking at her with resentment or indifference. They were looking at her with something worse. Hope. Hope that maybe she'd let Marcus come back. Hope that maybe something in their lives might actually change. "Girls," Catherine began, but Sophia cut her off. "He's nice," the 8-year-old said simply. "He's nice, and he doesn't yell, and he doesn't cry, and he doesn't leave. Can he come back, please?" Catherine looked at her eldest daughter, seeing for the first time how much Sophia had taken on as the unofficial leader of her sisters, how much weight those small shoulders carried, how much anger was really just fear that everyone would eventually abandon them like their father had. "He's coming back tomorrow," Catherine said. "He has more cleaning to do." "Just cleaning?" Emma asked hopefully. Catherine thought about Marcus's words, about time being the most important thing you could give. She thought about her perfectly scheduled days, her back-to-back meetings, her empire built on 60-hour work weeks. She thought about 17 nannies who'd fled and 5 daughters who were crying out for something she'd convinced herself she couldn't provide. "Just cleaning," she confirmed, watching their faces fall. Then, before she could stop herself, "But maybe after dinner we could watch a movie together. All of us." The shock on their faces would have been comical if it hadn't been so heartbreaking. Lily recovered first, launching herself at Catherine's legs with such force she nearly knocked her over. "Really? You'll watch with us? Not work?" Catherine awkwardly patted her youngest daughter's head, unused to physical affection from her children. "Really? I'll even let you pick the movie." The other 4 quickly joined the hug, and Catherine found herself surrounded by small bodies and hopeful hearts. Over their heads, she caught her reflection in the hall mirror. She looked terrified. She was terrified. Terrified that she'd fail at this too. Terrified that one movie night wouldn't be enough. Terrified that she'd already broken something in her daughters that couldn't be fixed. But as Lily looked up at her with those wide, trusting eyes, Catherine made a decision. She'd built a billion-dollar company from nothing. Surely she could figure out how to be present for her own children. Marcus Rivera had managed it while grieving his wife and building a business. If a man who'd lost everything could still show up for his daughter every day, what excuse did Catherine really have? That night, they watched Frozen for what had to be the 100th time in the movie's existence. Catherine's phone buzzed 17 times with work emergencies that she ignored. Her daughters sang along to every song, their voices off-key and perfect. And when Lily fell asleep curled against her side, Catherine realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd held one of her children like this. Couldn't remember the last time she'd felt needed for something other than money. As she carried Lily to bed later, her daughter's sleepy voice whispered, "You smell like Mama today." "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Like home," Lily murmured, already drifting off. "You smell like home." Catherine tucked her in, and for the first time in 2 years she allowed herself to cry. Not the angry tears of a woman betrayed by her husband, not the frustrated tears of a CEO with impossible demands, but the broken, healing tears of a mother who'd finally realized what she stood to lose. In her office later, she found Marcus Rivera's invoice. At the bottom, in neat handwriting, he'd added a note. "Your daughters talked about dragons today. Dragons are fierce and powerful, but the best ones learn when to breathe fire and when to shelter others under their wings. Mr." Catherine stared at the note for a long time. Then she picked up her phone and sent a message to Claire. "Cancel my 9 a.m. tomorrow, and my 11 a.m., and actually clear my entire morning. I have something more important to handle." For the first time in her career, Catherine Ashford was putting her children first, and it was terrifying. But watching Marcus Rivera parent with such natural grace had shown her something she'd been denying. She wasn't too busy to be a good mother. She was too scared. Scared of failing, scared of being vulnerable, scared of letting anyone see that beneath her armor, she was just as lost as her daughters. Tomorrow, Marcus would return. And Catherine had questions. How did he do it? How did he work and parent and still have enough warmth left over for everyone? How did he make it look so easy when for her it felt impossible? But mostly she wanted to know, could someone like her, someone who'd built walls so high she couldn't see over them anymore, could someone like her learn to tear them down? Before it was too late? She fell asleep at her desk that night, Marcus's note still in her hand, and dreamed of dragons learning to shelter instead of burn. Marcus Rivera arrived at the Ashford mansion at 9 a.m. sharp, Maya's hand in his as always. He'd expected to work quickly through the upstairs while Mrs. Ashford attended her morning meetings. What he didn't expect was to find Catherine Ashford herself opening the door, dressed in jeans and a simple sweater instead of her usual designer armor. "Mr. Rivera," she greeted him, looking uncomfortable in her own entrance hall. "I've cleared my morning. I was hoping, that is, I thought maybe you could show me what you did yesterday. With the girls? How you got them to listen?" Marcus studied the woman before him. Yesterday she'd been all sharp edges and ice. Today she looked younger, uncertain, almost vulnerable. He recognized that look. He'd worn it himself for months after Elena died, when he had no idea how to be both mother and father to a 3-year-old. "Mrs. Ashford." "Catherine," she interrupted. "Please." "Mrs. Ashford is what the nannies call me before they quit." A small smile tugged at Marcus's lips. "Catherine, I didn't do anything magical. I just listened to them. Really listened. Kids know when you're actually paying attention versus when you're just waiting for them to stop talking." "I don't know how to do that," Catherine admitted, the words clearly costing her. "I don't know how to just be with them. I know how to provide for them, how to schedule their activities, how to ensure they have the best of everything. But sitting still and just being present? I'm terrible at it." "Then that's where we start," Marcus said simply. "Being present is a skill like anything else. You weren't born knowing how to run a company, right? You learned. This is the same." Catherine let him in, and they found her 5 daughters eating breakfast at the kitchen table. Or rather, Sophia was trying to get Lily to eat while the twins argued over the last waffle, and Charlotte spilled juice across the marble counter. It was controlled chaos, and Catherine looked ready to flee. "Hey there, my dragon friends," Marcus called out cheerfully, and 5 heads swiveled toward him. The change was instant. Shoulders relaxed, arguing stopped. Even Lily smiled with a mouth full of cereal. "Remember what I said yesterday about dragons protecting what they love? Well, this kitchen is definitely something to protect. Who wants to help me show Mrs. Ashford, I mean your mama, how we can take care of it together?" What happened next, Catherine would later describe to Claire as somewhere between a miracle and military operation. Marcus turned cleaning the breakfast mess into a game, assigning each girl a specific task matched to her age and ability. Lily got to put napkins in the trash with Maya's help. Charlotte wiped down the lower cabinets. The twins took opposite ends of the table, and Sophia, the eldest, was given the important job of supervising her sisters and reporting to Marcus if anyone needed help. But the real magic wasn't in the efficiency. It was in the way Marcus made each girl feel valued. He praised specific actions. "Charlotte, I love how you're making sure to get into the corners. That shows real attention to detail." He turned mistakes into learning. "Oops, Emma, that's okay. Here's a trick my mama taught me about spills. Watch." And most importantly, he was patient. When Lily got distracted 3 times, he simply redirected her gently without frustration. "How do you not get angry?" Catherine asked quietly, standing beside him as they watched the girls work. "When they don't listen the first time, when they make mistakes? I just feel this rage building, and the rage isn't about them," Marcus said softly, his eyes on Maya, who was helping Lily reach the trash can. "At least it wasn't for me. After Elena died, I was so angry at everything. Angry at the cancer, angry at God, angry at myself for not being enough. And Maya would do normal kid things. Spill milk, forget her shoes, cry at bedtime. And I'd feel this fury rising. Like I wanted to scream, 'Why can't you just be easy? Haven't I lost enough?' Catherine turned to look at him, shocked by his honesty. "What did you do?" "I got help. A grief counselor who specialized in widowed parents. She taught me that anger is usually fear in disguise. I wasn't angry at Maya for spilling milk. I was terrified that I couldn't do this alone. Terrified I'd fail her. Terrified that losing her mother meant she'd lost stability forever." He paused, watching his daughter laugh at something Lily said. "Once I understood that, I could catch myself. When I felt the anger rising, I'd ask, 'What am I really afraid of right now?'" Catherine absorbed this, her mind working through the concept. What was she afraid of? Everything. Failing her daughters. Proving her ex-husband right when he'd said she was incapable of real love. Losing her company because she couldn't balance it all. Being vulnerable and getting hurt. The list was endless. "Mama," Lily's voice broke through her thoughts. "Come see. We made the kitchen perfect." And it was. Not just clean, but organized in a way that made sense even for small children. Marcus had rearranged the lower cabinets so the girls could reach dishes and cups, and he'd labeled bins with pictures for those who couldn't read yet. The whole space felt more like a home, and less like a showroom. "This is wonderful, girls," Catherine said, meaning it. "You all worked so hard, Mr. Marcus says working together is how families stay strong," Sophia announced with 8-year-old authority. Then, more tentatively, "Are we strong now, Mama?" The question hung in the air. Catherine felt Marcus's eyes on her, but he didn't intervene. This was her moment, her answer to give. She looked at her 5 daughters, really looked at them, maybe for the first time in months. Sophia with her defensive posture, always ready to protect her sisters. The twins with their elaborate secret language, bonding against a world that felt unsafe. Charlotte with her creative chaos, desperately seeking attention. And Lily, her baby, who just wanted to be held. Catherine knelt down, bringing herself to their eye level. It felt awkward, unnatural, but she forced herself to stay. "I think we're getting stronger," she said honestly. "We have a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn. But I want us to be strong. I want us to be a real family." "Does that mean you'll play with us more?" Emma asked hopefully. "It means I'll try," Catherine promised. "I might not be good at it at first. I might mess up a lot, but I want to try. Will you help me learn?" To her amazement, all 5 girls nodded. Even Sophia's skeptical expression softened slightly. Lily launched herself into Catherine's arms with enough force to knock her backward, and soon all 5 daughters were piled on top of her on the kitchen floor, giggling and hugging, and for one perfect moment, happy. From above them, Marcus's voice said warmly, "That's what dragon families do. They pile up together in the den where it's safe and warm. Maya, do you remember? We do it every morning before school," Maya said proudly. "Daddy says it's our charging station. We get hugs, so we're ready for the day." Catherine looked up at Marcus from beneath her pile of daughters, and something passed between them. An understanding, perhaps. He'd been where she was, lost in grief and fear and anger. He'd found his way out. Maybe, just maybe, he could help her find hers too. The rest of the morning passed in a way Catherine had never experienced. Marcus cleaned, yes, but he also taught. He showed her how to turn ordinary tasks into bonding moments, how to listen not just to words but to feelings, how to set boundaries with love instead of threats, how to let her daughters see her as human, not perfect. During lunch, which Marcus insisted on making with the girls, Catherine watched him explain to Charlotte why we don't touch the hot stove. He didn't just say no. He explained that her job as mama was to keep Charlotte safe, and the stove could hurt her. And if she got hurt, her mama would be sad. Charlotte actually listened. More than that, she seemed to appreciate being treated like someone capable of understanding. "You're a natural teacher," Catherine observed as they watched the girls eat their sandwiches at the table like civilized humans instead of the feral creatures she'd grown accustomed to. Marcus shrugged, wiping down the counter. "I'm not a teacher. I'm just a dad who had to figure things out fast. When Elena got sick, she made me promise I wouldn't let Maya grow up thinking love was complicated or hard. She said love should be the easiest thing in the world. You just show up, pay attention, and care more about their hearts than about looking like a good parent." Elena sounds like she was an amazing woman. She was. Marcus's voice carried deep affection but not the raw pain of fresh grief. She was a NICU nurse, spent her days taking care of the tiniest, most fragile babies. She'd come home exhausted, but she always had energy for Maya. Always. He paused, his expression growing thoughtful. She used to say that those babies taught her what love really was. They couldn't do anything for you, couldn't thank you or reward you or make you look good. You took care of them because they needed it, and that was enough. She said that's how we should love everyone, like they're precious just because they exist, not because of what they can do for us. Catherine felt tears prick her eyes. "I've spent 2 years trying to prove I don't need anyone, that I'm enough all by myself, strong, independent, untouchable. And how's that working out?" Marcus asked gently. "I built a billion-dollar company and lost my family," Catherine whispered. "So not great." "You haven't lost them yet," Marcus corrected, nodding toward her daughters. "They're right here, still hoping, still waiting. Kids are incredibly resilient, Catherine. They forgive so much more than adults do. The question is, can you forgive yourself enough to try again?" Before Catherine could answer, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, her CFO, probably with an emergency that absolutely required her attention. Her hand moved toward the phone automatically, 2 years of conditioning making the decision for her. Then she stopped. She looked at her daughters, happily eating lunch and chattering with Maya about favorite colors. She looked at Marcus, who was watching her with understanding, not judgment, and she made a choice. She declined the call and turned off her phone completely. "Mr. Rivera," she said formally, though her voice shook with emotion, "I'd like to modify our arrangement. I don't just need cleaning services. I need help. With everything. I need someone to show me how to be the mother my daughters deserve. I know that's not what you signed up for, and I'll pay you whatever rate you— Marcus held up a hand, stopping her. This isn't about money, Catherine. This is about whether I have the time and whether it's the right thing for everyone involved. Maya and I have our routine, our life. I can't just— I understand, Catherine said quickly, feeling foolish. I shouldn't have assumed. I'm sorry. Let me finish, Marcus said with a slight smile. I was going to say I can't just agree without thinking about Maya, but he looked at his daughter, who was teaching Lily how to fold her napkin into a butterfly shape. Maya loves being around other kids, and honestly, since Elena died, I've been so focused on making sure Maya doesn't feel the loss that I haven't given her much chance to just be a kid around other children. Maybe this could be good for both our families. Catherine's breath caught. Really? You'd consider it? On one condition, Marcus said seriously. This isn't about me fixing your family while you watch. This is about me helping you learn to connect with your daughters. It'll be uncomfortable. You'll make mistakes. There will be moments when you want to run back to your office and hide behind your work. But if you commit to this, really commit, then yes, I'll help. I commit, Catherine said immediately, then caught herself. I want to commit. I'm terrified I'll fail, but I want to try. That's all anyone can ask, Marcus replied. Fear is normal. Elena used to tell her NICU parents that fear meant they cared enough to worry about doing it right. It's the people who aren't scared who should worry. They spent the afternoon in the backyard, something Catherine couldn't remember doing in months. Marcus showed her how to play with her daughters. Really play, not just supervise. They built an obstacle course using pool noodles and hula hoops. They had relay races where Marcus made sure to handicap himself and Catherine so the younger girls could win sometimes. They played a game he called emotion charades, where the girls had to act out feelings and everyone had to guess. A sneaky way, Catherine realized, to teach emotional vocabulary. By 4 p.m., all 6 girls were exhausted and happy, sprawled on a blanket under the large oak tree in the corner of the yard. Catherine sat with them, Lily asleep with her head in Catherine's lap, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Thank you, she said quietly to Marcus, who was sitting nearby with Maya drowsing against his shoulder. Not just for today. For seeing past my armor, for being kind when you could have been judgmental. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? Yesterday, when I first arrived and saw your daughters acting out, I didn't see bad kids. I saw my Maya, about 6 months after Elena died. Angry, testing every boundary, trying to make sense of a world that had betrayed her. Your daughters aren't misbehaving because they're bad. They're trying to figure out if you're going to abandon them too. But I haven't abandoned them, Catherine protested. I'm right here. I've always been here. Physically, yes. But Catherine, there's a difference between being present and being available. I learned that the hard way. He shifted slightly, careful not to wake Maya. After the funeral, I threw myself into building the business. Told myself I was doing it for Maya, to secure her future. But really? I was hiding. Work was easier than grief. Clients were easier than a crying 3-year-old asking why mommy wasn't coming home. What changed? Maya started having nightmares, every single night screaming for her mother. The pediatrician said she was processing trauma, but that my emotional unavailability was making it worse. She needed to know I wasn't going anywhere, that I was solid, present, hers. Marcus's voice grew thick with emotion. The doctor told me something I'll never forget. Children don't need perfect parents. They need present ones. They need someone who shows up even when it's hard, even when they don't know what to do. The showing up is what matters. So you started showing up, Catherine said softly. Every day, even when I was exhausted. Even when my grief was so heavy I could barely breathe. Even when I had no idea what I was doing. I showed up. I read to her even when my voice cracked on every word. I held her during nightmares even when it broke my heart. I played even when I wanted to crawl into bed and not wake up. And slowly, over months, Maya started to heal. And so did I. Catherine looked down at Lily, at her other daughters sleeping peacefully for the first time in recent memory. I've been so angry at Richard for leaving, for choosing his secretary over his family, for abandoning these beautiful girls. But I abandoned them too, didn't I? In a different way. You're here now, Marcus said firmly. That's what counts. Not yesterday, not last year. Now, this moment, this choice. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the yard, Catherine made a decision. She pulled out her phone and composed an email to her executive team. Effective immediately, I'm restructuring my schedule. No meetings before 9 a.m. or after 3 p.m. on weekdays. No work on weekends unless emergency. Promote Gerald to COO to handle day-to-day operations. I hired talented people for a reason. It's time I trusted them to do their jobs. She showed the email to Marcus before sending it. Is this crazy? Am I about to tank my company? You're about to save your family, he corrected. The company will be fine. Companies always are. But your daughters? They get one childhood. One chance to know their mother loves them more than anything else. Don't waste it. Catherine hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she woke her daughters gently. Girls, how would you feel about having Marcus and Maya come here every day for a while? Not as our housekeeper, as our teachers. To help us learn to be a better family. 5 sleepy faces looked up at her with such hope it physically hurt. Sophia, always the skeptic, asked, Every day? Really? You won't cancel because of work? I promise, Catherine said and meant it. You are my most important job. I forgot that for a while, but I won't forget again. What happened next surprised everyone, including Catherine herself. Sophia started crying, not angry tears, but relieved ones. I thought you didn't love us anymore, the 8-year-old sobbed. I thought you were sorry Daddy left us with you. I thought we were too much trouble. Catherine gathered her eldest daughter into her arms, and then all 5 girls were crying, and Catherine was crying, and even Marcus had to wipe his eyes. Years of pain and fear and loneliness poured out on that blanket under the oak tree, and for the first time, Catherine didn't try to stop it or fix it or make it go away. She just held her daughters and let them feel what they needed to feel. I love you, she whispered fiercely. I love you so much it scares me. I'm sorry I've been so bad at showing it. I'm sorry I made you doubt it. But I love you more than any company, any career, any amount of money. You are everything. Maya, watching this with her wise 6-year-old eyes, leaned over to her father and whispered loudly, Daddy, are they going to be okay now? Marcus smiled through his own tears. Yeah, baby girl. I think they're going to be just fine. As darkness fell, Marcus helped Catherine get all 6 exhausted girls inside and ready for bed. He showed her his bedtime routine with Maya, the 3 books, the soft music, the ritual of listing 3 good things from the day and 1 thing to look forward to tomorrow. Catherine adapted it for each of her daughters, taking time with each one individually for the first time in months. When she tucked in Lily last, her youngest looked up with those trusting eyes and said, Mama, is Mr. Marcus going to be our new daddy? Catherine's breath caught. Oh, sweetheart, no. Mr. Marcus is our friend who's helping us. That's all. But I like him, Lily insisted. And he makes you smile. You never smile anymore. I'm going to smile more, Catherine promised. Starting today. But Mr. Marcus has his own life, his own family. We're learning from him. After all the girls were asleep, Catherine found Marcus in the kitchen packing up his cleaning supplies. Thank you, she said inadequately, for everything. I can't believe how much changed in just 2 days. This is just the beginning, Marcus warned gently. The hard part comes next, maintaining it. Not slipping back into old patterns when things get stressful. Your daughters will test you, Catherine. They'll push boundaries because they need to know the new version of you is real and permanent. I know, but I have a good teacher. She paused, then asked the question that had been nagging at her. Why are you doing this, really? You could clean houses and make good money without getting emotionally involved. Why help us? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his hands stilling on his cleaning supplies. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that made Catherine pay close attention. Because 3 years ago, a NICU nurse saw a terrified father who didn't know how to care for his premature baby, and she took extra time every single day to teach me. She wasn't my wife's nurse. My wife was in a different wing, but she saw me struggling and she helped. That nurse's kindness changed everything for me and Maya. What was her name? Catherine asked softly. Marcus met her eyes. I don't remember. I never got to thank her properly. Elena died 2 weeks later, and in the chaos of grief and funeral arrangements, I never went back to find that nurse. But I made a promise to Elena's memory that if I ever saw another parent struggling the way I did, I'd help. No judgment, no conditions, just help. You're honoring your wife by helping my broken family. I'm honoring my wife by being the person she believed I could be. Marcus corrected gently. Elena always said the best way to heal from loss was to help others find what you've lost. I lost my partner, my best friend, the love of my life. But I found a way to be a good father. If I can help you find that connection with your daughters, then Elena's love keeps rippling outward. That feels right. Catherine felt tears threaten again. I don't know what I did to deserve your help, but I'm grateful, more than I can say. Marcus shouldered his bag and called softly for Maya, who came trotting in, rubbing her eyes. "See you tomorrow, Catherine, 9 a.m., and bring your courage. Tomorrow we tackle emotional regulation and conflict resolution." "That sounds terrifying." "It is," Marcus agreed with a grin. "But so is building a billion-dollar company, and you manage that. You're stronger than you think. You just forgot for a while." After they left, Catherine walked through her quiet house. It was clean, yes, but more than that, it felt different. Warmer somehow. More like a home and less like a museum. She stopped in each daughter's room, watching them sleep peacefully, their faces relaxed in ways she hadn't seen in months. In Sophia's room, she noticed a drawing on the nightstand, 5 stick figures holding hands, the girls, and 2 taller figures standing nearby. One labeled Mama with a small smile drawn on, the other labeled Mr. Marcus with a big smile and a heart. Catherine picked up the drawing, studying it in the dim light from the hallway. Her daughter had drawn her smiling. When was the last time Sophia had seen her mother smile? When was the last time Catherine had felt like smiling? She carried the drawing to her own bedroom and placed it on her nightstand where she'd see it first thing in the morning. A reminder of what she was fighting for. A reminder that change was possible. That night, Catherine Ashford slept better than she had in 2 years. No anxiety about morning meetings. No stress about impossible schedules. Just peace and hope, and the beginning of something that felt like healing. In a modest apartment across town, Marcus Rivera tucked Maya into bed and sat with her until she fell asleep, as he did every night. He thought about Catherine Ashford and her 5 daughters, about the pain he'd seen behind the Ice Queen facade, about the potential for transformation. He hadn't told Catherine everything, hadn't told her that he'd chosen her house specifically when the cleaning request came through his service, hadn't told her that he'd recognized the address from somewhere, though he couldn't quite place where, hadn't told her that something about this family felt important in a way he didn't fully understand yet. As he kissed Maya's forehead and turned out the light, Marcus whispered the prayer he said every night. "Elena, if you can hear me, guide me. Help me be the father Maya needs. And if I'm meant to help others, show me how." He had no way of knowing that his prayer was about to be answered in ways he never could have imagined. That the connection between his family and Catherine's ran deeper than either of them knew. That the truth, when it finally came to light in the weeks ahead, would change everything. But tonight, 2 broken families had taken the first steps toward healing. And sometimes, that's all you can ask for. 1 step, 1 day, 1 choice at a time. The rest would come. It always did. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, new moments of connection. But tonight, in 2 different homes across the city, children slept peacefully knowing they were loved. And in the end, isn't that all any child really needs? 3 weeks passed, and the Ashford household transformed into something Catherine barely recognized. A home filled with laughter instead of chaos. Marcus came every morning at 9, and together they created routines that actually worked. Breakfast became family time. Bedtime meant individual moments with each daughter. Weekends were sacred. No work, just connection. Catherine's board questioned her new schedule. Her CFO Gerald handled it beautifully, proving Marcus right. She'd hired talented people who could manage without her hovering. The company thrived. More importantly, so did her daughters. But something else was happening too. Something Catherine tried desperately to ignore. She was falling for Marcus Rivera. It wasn't just gratitude, though she was grateful beyond measure. It was the way he listened when she talked about her fears. The way he made her laugh when she took herself too seriously. The way he looked at his daughter with such pure love that Catherine ached with longing. Not for him, but to be loved like that herself. She caught herself watching him more than necessary. Noticed when he changed his work shirt. Found excuses to be in whatever room he occupied. It was ridiculous. Inappropriate. She was his employer, technically. He was her teacher. And more than that, he was still grieving his wife. "Earth to Catherine." Marcus's voice broke through her thoughts. They were in the garden while the girls played on the swing set. "You okay? You've been staring at that rose bush for 5 minutes." "Just thinking," she said quickly, "about how much has changed." Marcus smiled, that warm expression that made her heart do stupid things. "You've done incredible work. Your daughters are thriving. Sophia hasn't had a single outburst in 2 weeks. The twins are more confident. Charlotte's creativity has an outlet now. And Lily." He paused, his expression growing thoughtful. "Lily's special, isn't she?" "What do you mean?" "She sees things other kids don't. Emotional things. Yesterday she told me Maya was sad because she missed her mother, even though Maya was smiling. She was right. It was Elena's birthday." His voice carried wonder. "Your 4-year-old has emotional intelligence beyond her years." Catherine felt pride swell. She's always been perceptive, Sometimes it worries me, like she carries too much for someone so small. Or maybe she's exactly who she's meant to be, Marcus suggested. Elena used to say some souls are old. They come into this world already knowing things the rest of us have to learn. They fell into comfortable silence watching their daughters play together. 6 girls who'd become inseparable. Catherine couldn't imagine life without Maya's gentle presence anymore. The thought made her chest tighten. Marcus, she began hesitantly. Can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you ever think about, has there been anyone since Elena? Anyone you've... Mama! Mama! Lily's scream cut through the air. Catherine's blood turned to ice. She ran toward the swing set where Lily stood pointing at Maya, who was on the ground, not moving. Marcus reached her first, dropping to his knees beside his daughter. Maya? Baby, can you hear me? Maya's eyes fluttered open, unfocused. Daddy? I feel funny. Everything's spinning. Call 911, Marcus shouted, his voice cracking with terror. Catherine already had her phone out, her hands shaking as she dialed. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes that felt like hours. Marcus rode with Maya, and Catherine followed in her car with all 6 girls crowded in the back, crying. At the hospital, they were separated. Marcus went with Maya to the emergency room, while Catherine tried to keep 5 terrified children calm in the waiting area. Is Maya going to die? Lily asked, her little face streaked with tears. No, sweetheart. The doctors are helping her. Catherine prayed she wasn't lying. Hours passed. Catherine's daughters eventually fell asleep in the uncomfortable chairs, but she stayed alert, watching the emergency room doors. Finally, at 11 p.m., Marcus emerged. He looked destroyed. She's stable, he said immediately, seeing Catherine's face. They're running tests. They think it might be. His voice broke. They think it might be the same thing Elena had, a genetic condition. If it is, Maya will need treatment, possibly surgery. And it's expensive, really expensive. My insurance covers some, but not enough. Catherine stood, careful not to wake her daughters. She took Marcus's hands in hers. Whatever it costs, I'll cover it. All of it. Don't even think about money. Catherine, I can't. Yes, you can. You saved my family, Marcus. Let me help save yours. She squeezed his hands. Please. Marcus pulled her into a hug, and Catherine melted into it. He smelled like fear and hospitals and something uniquely him. She wanted to hold him forever, to take away his pain, to promise everything would be okay. When they pulled apart, something had shifted between them. Marcus looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Thank you, he whispered. But Catherine saw something else in his eyes too, something that looked like guilt, and she wondered what secrets Marcus Rivera was still keeping. Maya's tests came back 3 days later. Catherine sat beside Marcus in the doctor's office, her hand in his because he was shaking and someone needed to anchor him to earth. It's not the same condition her mother had, Dr. Peterson said, and Marcus sagged with relief. But Maya does have a congenital heart defect that requires surgery. The good news is it's correctable. The challenging news is we need a detailed family medical history, particularly maternal side. Marcus went pale. Her mother's dead. I don't have access to those records. We'll need them, the doctor said firmly. There are genetic factors that could impact the surgery and recovery. Is there any way to contact her mother's family? No, Marcus said too quickly. No family. Elena was. She was alone. Catherine noticed his discomfort but didn't press. Not here. Not now. Later, at Catherine's house, while Maya rested upstairs with the girls watching over her, Catherine made coffee and gathered her courage. Marcus, what aren't you telling me? He stared into his cup for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. Elena wasn't Maya's biological mother. Catherine's world tilted. What? We adopted Maya when she was 3 days old. Private adoption. Elena was her mother in every way that mattered. She loved her, raised her, would have died for her, but biologically. He looked up, his eyes tortured. I don't know Maya's medical history because I don't know who her birth parents were. It was a closed adoption. The agency sealed all records. Can you unseal them? For medical reasons? I've been trying for 3 days. The agency is dragging their feet. Something about privacy laws and consent. His hands clenched into fists. My daughter needs surgery, and I can't give the doctors the information they need to keep her safe. Catherine's mind raced. What agency? New Beginnings Adoption Services in Albuquerque. Something clicked in Catherine's memory. A conversation years ago, before her marriage fell apart. Richard had mentioned something about his sister using that agency, but Richard's sister had died years ago before Catherine met him. Died in childbirth, he'd said, or no, it couldn't be. Marcus, when exactly did you adopt Maya? September 15th, 6 years ago. Why? Catherine's hands went numb. September 15th, 6 years ago. The same day Richard's sister supposedly died. But what if she hadn't died? What if she'd given up a baby instead? I need to make a call, Catherine said, her voice strange even to her own ears. Stay here. She went to her office and pulled out the box of Richard's things she'd kept. Papers from the divorce, old photos, documents. Buried in the bottom was a memorial card. Sarah Mitchell, beloved sister, 1992-2018. But attached to it, hidden behind, was something else. A birth certificate. A baby girl born September 15, 2018. Mother, Sarah Mitchell. Father, unknown. And a handwritten note in Richard's handwriting. New Beginnings handled it. Sarah wanted closed adoption. Never tell Catherine. Catherine's world exploded. Maya wasn't just any child. Maya was Richard's niece, which meant Maya was her daughter's cousin, which meant she walked back to the kitchen on numb legs. Marcus looked up, concerned. Catherine, you're white as a sheet. I think I know who Maya's birth mother was, Catherine whispered. And Marcus, this changes everything. Changes. The truth spilled out in Catherine's kitchen while their daughters slept upstairs, innocent to the revelation shattering the adult's world. Richard's sister Sarah had gotten pregnant at 25 by a man who abandoned her. Ashamed, hiding from their wealthy, judgmental family, she'd gone to New Mexico to have the baby in secret. She'd chosen closed adoption. Made Richard promise never to tell anyone, especially not Catherine, who she'd only met once at the wedding. Sarah had died 3 months later, not in childbirth like Richard claimed, but by suicide. The guilt of giving up her daughter had consumed her. Richard knew, Catherine said, her voice hollow. He knew Maya existed. He knew where she was, and he never said anything. Marcus was shaking. Why wouldn't he tell you? Why keep it secret? Because Richard kept everything that mattered secret, Catherine said bitterly. He probably thought if I knew Maya existed, I'd want to find her, want to be involved. He couldn't stand anything that might complicate his perfect, controlled life. Maya is my daughter's cousin, Catherine continued, the reality sinking in. She's family, real family, and she's been here all along. Marcus stood abruptly, pacing. This is insane. What are the odds? Out of every house in this city, I end up at yours? Maybe it wasn't odds, Catherine said softly. Maybe it was meant to be. You said Elena made you promise to help struggling families. What if this was always where you were supposed to end up? With us? Marcus stopped pacing, turning to face her. What are you saying? I'm saying Maya needs her medical history, now we can give it to her. Richard came from a family with detailed health records. His mother was obsessed with documenting everything. I can get them. She paused. But more than that, Marcus. Maya deserves to know she has family, real family who loves her. What about Richard? He's their father. What do I tell him? Catherine's expression hardened. Richard abandoned his daughters. He doesn't get a say anymore. But his family medical history could save Maya's life. That's what matters. Over the next week, Catherine obtained the Mitchell family medical records. The doctors found what they needed, a genetic marker that required adjusted surgical protocol. The surgery was scheduled, and Catherine paid for everything without hesitation, because Maya wasn't just Marcus's daughter anymore. She was family. The night before Maya's surgery, Catherine gathered all 6 girls in the living room. We need to tell you something important, she began, Marcus beside her. They explained it simply. Maya's birth mother was related to their family. Maya was their cousin. They'd found each other by accident, or maybe by fate, but now they knew the truth. Lily spoke first, her 4-year-old wisdom shining through. So Maya's our sister now? Like forever? If that's what everyone wants, Catherine said carefully. I want it, Sophia declared, and all the other girls nodded. Maya looked at her father, then at Catherine. Does this mean you're my Aunt Catherine? If you'd like me to be, Catherine said, tears streaming down her face. And my sisters are really my cousins? Maya's eyes were wide with wonder. Really, truly, Marcus confirmed, his own voice thick. Maya considered this seriously. Then she smiled, that brilliant smile that lit up everything. I always wanted a big family. Daddy said Mommy Elena wanted that too. The girls erupted into excited chatter, planning how they'd share rooms after Maya's surgery, how they'd be together forever, how nothing would ever separate them now. Later, after the children finally slept, Catherine and Marcus stood in her kitchen drinking coffee and processing the impossible truth of their intertwined lives. So what happens now? Marcus asked quietly. Catherine turned to face him. Now we stop pretending this is just about you helping my family. Now we admit that maybe, possibly this is about building something new. Together. Catherine, I love you, she said simply. I've been falling in love with you for weeks. I know it's complicated. I know you're still grieving Elena. I know we should probably wait and think and be rational. But Marcus, life is too short and too precious to waste time pretending we don't feel what we feel. Marcus stared at her, emotions warring across his face. Elena told me something before she died. She made me promise that if I ever found someone who loved Maya as much as I did, someone who made our little family bigger instead of trying to replace her, I should let myself be happy. She said she didn't want me to be alone forever. And have you? Found someone? Catherine whispered. Marcus crossed the space between them and cupped her face in his hands. Yes, I found you. And you're exactly what Elena described. Someone who loves Maya, who made our family bigger, who never tried to replace anyone. You just added more love, more light. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home, like every broken piece of both their lives had been leading to this moment, this choice, this beautiful, impossible, meant-to-be love. Maya's surgery was successful. She recovered beautifully, surrounded by 5 sisters who never left her side. 6 months later, Marcus and Maya moved into the Ashford mansion, not as employees or teachers but as family, real, permanent family. A year after that, Marcus Rivera and Catherine Ashford stood in that same garden where Maya had collapsed, where their lives had changed forever, and got married. 6 flower girls walked down the aisle and there wasn't a dry eye in the attendance. Catherine never did figure out if it was fate or chance that brought Marcus to her door that day, but she decided it didn't matter. What mattered was that a cleaning man with kind eyes and a grieving heart had seen past her walls and taught her the most important lesson. Love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about choosing connection over control. It's about building something beautiful from broken pieces. And sometimes, just sometimes, the family you need finds you exactly when you need them most. Even if it takes a shattered vase, 17 failed nannies, and one impossible coincidence to make it happen.